that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Hey, folks, how are you? Hope you're doing all right today and not pushing too hard up hills. It was a fairly warm one if you're in the southeast of Queensland, but I think in Sydney it was a reasonably warm day as well. Won't get into it. There was going to be another chat tonight, but we'll put that off until another night. But I did speak to that person today, and they were lucky enough to be sitting in the Blue Mountains beside a beautiful blue lagoon, so to speak, thinking, that looks quite nice. I might just drop into that water for a little cool down. Nice part of the world to be in. So I hope you've had a bloody good day. Watha, I think, has had a pretty good day. Here's a picture of Watha when he can stand up. And here's a picture of Watha today when he's lying down. Now, we've been keeping track of Greg's hospital journey, and if you're unaware, this is the first time you've seen the show in a while. Greg had 2 toes amputated on his left foot last Sunday, and they are just waiting to clear all that up. I could show you pictures of it, but you won't want to eat your dinner afterwards, honestly. You'd want a strong stomach for it. However, today has been a very good day. It started off with this arriving at his hospital bed, a beautiful box of fruit. And as you can see there, sending you healing vibes and best wishes, Greg, for a speedy recovery. Katrina and Justin Young, VOF. I think we've got to start something new. VOFF, the Voice of Freedom Family. Just beautiful. Katrina and Justin are down in Tasmania, and if the name rings a bell to you folks, it's because Justin sent me, and Katrina sent me this book, but Justin took all the photos in here, and I don't know that my lighting's going to do it justice. I'll open to any page, but these are just some of the most magnificent images of some of the most magnificent hot rods you are ever likely to see. And if you're like me, have always loved the idea of having a hot rod, could never own one, this is just magnificent. It's a coffee table book, beautifully presented. I don't know if they've got any more. And Katrina, if you're watching, let me know, and I will happily give the address out or how people can order them. But the book itself is called Chrome Bumpers and Round Headlights, and it is just brilliant. So what has benefited, maybe not as much as me. I could take the book up. I'm not giving it to you, just saying, but you can keep it for a while. If you would get some benefit out of it, you'd probably get less benefit out of the book than you would out of chomping into that. But then, for some reason, a beer arrived. Now, I wouldn't have thought in Greg's current state that beer would be ideal with his antibiotics, but then the culprit bringing the beer materialized as well. This is Paul, another of our VOF family. And just what a wonderful family we have. Paul and his wonderful wife, who took the photo here, I think, popped in this morning. They were at the Sunshine Coast University Hospital for an appointment of their own, and they took the opportunity to pop up and present. If you have a look on the table just to the left of the fruit box, you will see some rounds of sandwiches. They are corned beef pickle sandwiches, or corned beef mustard, I'm not sure, but corned beef sandwiches. My favorite too. And I know Greg has been enjoying them. Not that the hospital food is bad. It's just consistent, I think, would be the way you would describe it. And I know that Greg's enjoyed those tremendously. So thank you very much to Paul and his wife, and to Katrina and Justin for thinking of Greg in hospital. If you want to send him something, folks, he'll be there for a little while, hopefully out before the cruise. That's what we're all praying for. The cruise is happening on the 4th of May. And had some news today from Lynn and her traveling partner. They were going to be joining us on the cruise, but one thing led to another, and by the time they got to book it or whatever, the boat is full. And the boat is full. We've got people who are waiting in in the line, apparently, to be given the opportunity to jump on at the last moment, but who knows? At any rate, Lynn and her travelling partner have decided to make it a road trip instead. So they're going to meet us at Airlie Beach on the 6th of May, and at the Airlie Beach Whitsunday Sailing Club at about 12:30, we're going to sit down and have lunch. So it'll be any number of people off the boat, whoever wishes to come, but some of them might want to go and have a look at Hamilton Island or go and have a look at the White Beach of Whitehaven or wherever. May just want to wander the streets of Airlie, who knows? But I'll be there. Have no fear. I don't mind a feed, and Sailing Club sounds like a nice place. Looks like a great place. So if you'd like to join us, and you're not going to be on the boat, but you don't mind the road trip to Airlie Beach, you might be up that way. I don't know how far you're prepared to drive, but we'd love to see you if you'd like to come across. I know there's a few people around Proserpine and whatnot who we normally do pop in and see. The last time I was up there was 2 years ago, but would love to pop in and see you guys again, hopefully sooner rather than later. And if we can't do that, come over to Airlie. Pop over and say hi. That's the 6th of May at the Whitsunday Sailing Club. Don't know what time. I guess the boat's there from very early in the morning, but I don't know what time we're allowed to get off it or swim over or however it's going to work. We may have to get a helicopter for Greg. Don't know how we'll get him off the boat otherwise, but there you go. Very quickly, the United States, this is a new message from Donald Trump just in the last half hour or so. The United States will work closely with Iran, which we have determined has gone through what will be a very productive regime change. There will be no enrichment of uranium, and the United States will work with Iran to dig up and remove all of the deeply buried B-2 bombers' nuclear dust. This is, it is now, and it has been underway under very exacting satellite surveillance from Space Force. Nothing has been touched from the date of the attack. We are, and we will be, talking tariff and sanctions relief with Iran. Many of the 15 points that have already been agreed to. Thank you for your attention to the matter. I think what Trump is trying to say there, and I translated very poorly, is that negotiations are back on. We will wait and see. Part of the issue I think that we have with these negotiations is that, are you actually dealing with somebody who's in charge of the country? Because the military side of it seemed to be singing from a very, very different hymn book. There has also been something else that has been thrown out in front of the media in the last little while, and I suspect overnight is going to bubble. It's been alleged that there are a great number of very suspicious trades in the US stock market, particularly surrounding the announcement, some of Donald Trump's more recent radical announcements. Donald Trump's announcements, we know, have triggered major movements in the market, and it appears that there has been some form of profiteering off that. I'm not going to go any further into it because I don't know much more about it. I will look into it later, but I just want you to remember, I've been saying for 5 years, you will be surprised at who the first arrest is, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was Donald Trump. We'll talk about then that probably tomorrow night for the Friday free-for-all. That's always a little exciting. Last night, I attempted to get Ben Duxsan on the farm, off the farm and onto the phone, so to speak. Now, Ben had a tractor issue last night, but thankfully, we've managed to hook him up for tonight. Ben is the chairman of Farmers Fightback in Victoria, but I think it's going to be quite a national movement. And he's joining us this morning from his this evening. Where are we? From his property in the best described as the Wimmera Mallee area, I suppose. Is it, Ben? Thanks for joining us.
100% Carl, yeah, down in the Wimmera, southern Wimmera, here at Manu in Victoria, not far from the Grampians. So Grampians is one of the great areas of Victoria, and we're not far from there.
So it's been a while since I've done the Rapanya Manu Halls Gap kind of journey, but I reckon you'd be from Halls Gap, you may be an hour, a bit over an hour,
a bit under 50 minutes, yeah.
There you go. Everybody knows where Halls Gap is, and if you don't, go and look it up. It's one of the few reasons worthwhile visiting Victoria at the moment. Mate, I'm great to have you on the show, but I'm very sorry to have you on the show under these circumstances. Many of our viewers may not be completely aware of why I'm talking to a Victorian farmer about power lines, but this is an issue that is affecting many, many Victorians, but many people nationally. It's just the extraordinary lengths that the Victorian government is going to ride roughshod over your farmers that I think is both amazing and horrifying many people right around the nation. Can you explain what V&I West are proposing and, what they propose at first, and then why your group in particular are pushing back?
Yeah, so V&I West is the Victorian New South Wales interconnector, and WRL, which is Western Renewable Links, they've actually been in the fight for 6 years. So that's basically from Melbourne into Store, which is just to the south of us, and then it connects into V&I West. Originally, this was supposed to go through Bendigo, which is obviously Jacinta Allen's electorate there, and it got pushed out to us, thinking that it should be a bit more resistance, but it's all part of AEMO's power play of trying to link Tasmania to Townsville with power lines. That's basically what it is. It's trying to link the country up with power lines, which is a failed approach. And we've certainly done a lot of work over the last 3 years. We've had a really resistant group. But more than that, we've got educated and we've actually unpacked a lot of what's going on here with the energy policy in Australia. And, it all gets back to net zero and that. This is ridiculous that an energy-rich country here, like Australia is actually facing higher electricity costs. It's facing less reliability. We're actually in a fuel and fertiliser crisis out here on the farm as well. And these are all government-induced issues. The government could easily step on these. We could easily be a superpower. We should be one of the few countries in the world that is not impacted by this war in Iran. We've got all the minerals, we've got all the oil, we've got all the energy that we need out here. We should be immune from that. And what we've got now is farmers going through very tough times in trying to get supply of diesel and fertiliser to plant this year's crop. So
can I throw a question at you then? And this is I never planned on this question, but you've brought up an interesting idea. So the pushback at the moment is that V&I West wants to put towers on your land, on your properties. It's going to impact directly on your growing land and your ability to grow as much or get as much yield out of that particular area. And it depends on how many towers you've got. They're going to cut roads into your property from wherever the hell they like. So there is actually a physical loss of farmable land to you. How, given that we have a fuel and a fertilizer problem, and the only way we're going to cure those problems by building a refinery or building a fertilizer plant, if it wasn't V&I West and they wanted to come and build a fertilizer plant, on the outskirts of Horsham, let's say, or they wanted to go and build a refinery, I personally would probably build it closer to the Mooney oil fields in South Australia. But would there be objections from the farming community for that? Let's call it the fertilizer plant near Horsham. Would that be a problem?
I think it needs to stack up commercially. It'd be the big thing. But no, here in the Wimmera, we're big users of fertiliser out here. So anything to shore up supply and make sure we've got a cheap, reliable source of fertiliser to feed the world would be fantastic. So
the land that V&I West want to come onto, and they want to come onto this, supposedly force their way onto the land next week, ANZAC week. This is land that was settled by World War I, World War II veterans, guys who came back from fighting in Gallipoli and walked to the Wimmera and staked their settlement claim and grew that land from nothing. That obviously doesn't mean much anymore to the government.
Obviously doesn't. To choose ANZAC Day week to actually come and try and take over these farms, and this is a takeover. This is something that's passed through Parliament that they've had to do because of our resistance. But to even think that that's right, and this is a scary thing for all city people as well, is if they get away with this, they could go in the city and do whatever they want as well. So property rights mean nothing here in Victoria. You don't even get a chance to object to it. And if you do, you get fined of doing that. So, yeah, ANZAC Day week's a really bad timing. As you said, lot of soldier settlement farms up here. A lot of diggers come from this area and fought for their country. And we know that they'd be horrified to see what is happening out here with the blood, sweat and tears that our forefathers and foremothers have actually put into this land. And just to think that they can waltz in and think that it's right for Australia. And we've always said this. We've said this project is not necessary. It's not getting a reliable and affordable electricity grid for the next 100, 200, 300 years. This is not the way to do it. So we've said a complete stop. We've offered alternatives. There is an alternative, which is Plan B through Bruce Mountain and Professor Bartlett as well, that actually uses existing infrastructure and easements to a little upgrade and of a fraction of the cost that they're thinking here. And remembering, our VNI West project has gone from a $3.4 billion project into $11.8 billion project, and a sod hasn't been turned. They're talking over $20 billion to build this. This is just uneconomical in a state that cannot afford any of this at the moment. And what it does, it opens up all these wind factories, solar factories to overseas multinationals, to the billionaires, to the ex-politicians, to put their snouts in the trough and actually try and gain the government subsidies that we all pay for as taxpayers, to try and get an unreliable and unaffordable electricity grid. It's just madness that they'd consider doing this, and we're a firm no, and we're standing up against it and saying we cannot afford this. It's socially irresponsible, it's financially irresponsible, it's environmentally irresponsible as well.
So clearly the issue is political. This year, Victoria goes to the polls for a state election in November. Yep. I have been saying for the last, I think, elections at least, that Labor are unelectable for a variety of reasons, and yet they still have managed to get back. After seeing what One Nation have been able to do in South Australia, have you been approached by anyone, or are there any in your cohort that are thinking of approaching One Nation and running on their behalf at the Victorian state election? And do you think there is a mood for change in Victoria, and it's going to have to be a tsunami-style change? Do you think the same thing that happened in South Australia could happen in Victoria?
Oh, very much so on the cards, Carl. Yeah, 100%. Like these, I don't know. I never used to think, but there is a uni party out there, and it's the Labor and Liberals all ganging up on us, and we've known that for a while. Not only that, is a lot of the agencies and that are supposed to stick up for us have been bureaucratised as well. So there's infiltration everywhere we look. So as farmers, we're seeing that, not too many are standing up for us. That's why we've started the groundswell with the Farmers Fightback. It's a grassroots movement that is getting a lot of traction of people that saying enough's enough, and they're sinking their teeth in a grassroots movement. And similar to One Nation is that people are just wondering where to look and what to do. So we need to make sure that there is an alternative out there. Whether some of our people are going to stand, I'm not so sure, but there certainly is interest out there to make sure the politicians actually know what we're about, and to make sure that what we're asking for hits the ears. And the more people we get signed up to our Farmers Fightback, the harder we can go at the politicians, because nothing scares a politician more than numbers of people that are going to vote against them. So if we swell the numbers, we can wave a bit of an axe around and say, well, let's start getting some policy that's actually going to be good for Australia. And this is what it's about. It's about getting some policy that's going to actually take Australia forward. And, we're at our lowest level of productivity ever here in Australia, and it's everywhere. If us as farmers run the country like these current leaders in Tony Albanese and Chris Bowen and Jacinta Allen and Lily D'Ambrosio, we'd be in a hell of a lot of pain. So our farming business we just wouldn't be able to operate the way they operate. No. So it's a really, of course, none of that.
I don't think there's anybody in any Labor Party in Australia who's ever had a business, and if they have had it, I doubt it was successful. It goes against everything that the Labor Party stands for. And I do hope that change comes to Victoria. Are you getting any support from, well, it used to be big National Party territory, the Wimmera. So Are you getting any support from the Liberal Nationals around this, or are they ducking for cover?
Oh, they're ducking for cover a little bit. We do put pressure on them a fair bit, but they don't come out with the policies that suit what we're trying to do down here as well. So they need to stick to a policy and make sure, obviously everything's city central and that sort of stuff. Melbourne's city central, aren't they? So that's where they see the votes are going to be won out there. But they tend to leave the country alone and leave it up to us to vote whichever way. And as you said, it's been a very strong Nationals area, but that mood is really changing now. There is certainly people that want parties like One Nation to actually stand up for us and commit to actually getting rid of net zero, which is a farce, and getting rid of these energy projects that just do not take this country forward. It's only one way, and that's backwards, and we're already backwards enough at the moment here in Australia.
I'm not sure how Ireland compares in size to Victoria, but the Irish farmers are certainly making a hell of an impression on the Irish government at the moment, with roads blocked, tractors blocking roundabouts, trucks blocking roads. They have had enough, and they have taken to the streets to fight back. Is there that kind of feeling from the majority of farmers in Victoria, or is there a nest of farmers who actually support what the government are doing and support what V&I are doing and are happy to give up portions of their land for whatever V&I want to do to it?
In any case, there's always going to be a few that do want it. But I'd say we'd have of the V&I West, there's probably up to the border, there's a 200-kilometre stretch, and we'd have about 150 kilometres of resistance against that, so all the way up and down. So a few in between that may think that it's a great idea to grab a bit of money at the present, but certainly the most resistance is from our areas and our people, and that are strong on board of resisting against this. So watching the Irish stuff quite intently at the moment, and it's sort of you push people into a corner, there is a breaking point. So definitely keep trying to push us, and there will be a breaking point where people are saying enough's enough, and there's being a precedent set overseas, and the Europeans have done it for quite a while and that sort of stuff. And if we get pushed into a corner and our terms of trade get so dire that we need to actually stand up for ourselves, there certainly will be talk of doing that into the future.
I was very fortunate to grow up in my very early years in the Wimmera, and my unabiding memory of the people that we associated with, both, just me with the kids, but their families, and the community feeling, the feeling of unity in that community, the feeling of support from all ends of the community. When I say all ends, it doesn't exist anymore, but the Lalat Plains Primary School and the Rupp North, the Rupp South Primary Schools, which all just used to be dongers on the side of the road, 10, 15 kilometres from a little town called Rapanya that had what was the main school. But all of these farming families came together for the football, for the show. The local town hall was, there was a dance, or there was something happening every month where everybody comes together. And then there might be a dance in Manu. So there'd be a bunch of people who'd go across from Rupp or whatever, and there'd be people from Sunanit or Bendigo or wherever else. That was the kind of unity and community that I grew up with, love, and still, feel so strongly about creating. And you don't walk on to properties of people who are that strong in community, because they protect what they own. They feel very strongly about it, and I'm sure that there are no shortage of people in the Wimmera that are very prepared to protect themselves should V&I want to go and force their way onto these properties. Do you think?
Yeah, 100%. And you're looking at intergenerational farms. Unfortunately, what's happened out here is that there has been a big population loss as the farms get bigger and bigger, and the size of the machinery gets bigger, and all that sort of stuff. We need for less workers and all that sort of thing. But the thing is that amongst our fights, there's been intergenerational farmers, and And we've had 3 generations of farms fighting at the gateway for our way of life and against these property laws that they're bringing in to try and compulsory access our farms. So everyone is really strong about it, and everyone is united behind each other against this cause, and it has made us stronger. So the good thing about us is that we're actually quite well organised too. So what happens with other projects is that they'll pick people off one by one, but we've been very united all the way through, and everyone's standing together. And last time they come up at us was in our harvest period, so usually around the peak harvest period, one of the busiest periods, obviously in the Wimmera, as you'd know, Carl. And then now they're at us when it's a peak at our peak seeding period. So this is really a setup. This is a complete setup from these Vic Grid people that think they can ride shotgun over us the whole time. And not only that, they've introduced a whole gamut of dirty tricks to try and really taunt our members, and they're out there taunting them at the moment. They're out in the front of people's houses and that, trying to get a reaction from them, and it's really, really grubby tactics. They're lies that they're spreading. They're saying there's only 26 people holding the project up here, and they've got 170 that have taken the money for the EESs and all that sort of stuff, but they're not even people on the line. So they just make up figures. They bully us, they intimidate us, and we're not pushing back. We are pushing back, but we're not being the bullies or the aggressors in this. We're doing it in a peaceful manner, and we're certainly holding together as a group and making sure that we look after each other. This is it's taking a huge toll on people. We're into 3 years of battling this, and some people are at their wits' end of trying to battle against all this, plus have to have a fuel and fertiliser crisis on top of that. Poor season for the last couple of years, so it's taking its toll on people, but we are organised.
Just on the fuel crisis, and I say that with inverted commas, last night there was an explosion at the Geelong refinery, the Viva Energy refinery, and even though the area that was affected has no effect on diesel production or on unleaded fuel production outside of a certain aromatic one that they use in Aboriginal settlements so the kids can't sniff it and get off. There is no effect to production. They slowed down while the fire was on, but they're making sure that everything's safe. They're ramping back up again. They're going to say that this is going to cause, a huge problem for our diesel supply, and particularly for Victoria's, as the Geelong plant supplies over 50% of Victoria's needs. Are you struggling for diesel? Are your providers or your distributors able to get access?
So it certainly has been rationed from the start of this war. It certainly has been rationed. So normally what would happen on the farm, you'd either get low, you'd run out or something, and you'd ring your supplier. Within 1 or 2 days, he'd turn up and he'd give you the full amount. What's happening now is it's probably taking 2, 3, 4 weeks to get that fuel, and you probably don't get the whole lot at once either. So you might get, half of what you normally get, or you might get 3/4 of what you normally get. But it certainly is being rationed. But things stop if you don't have diesel. If we don't have diesel out, you can't move. You can't do a thing. You can't get and feed your sheep. We're sheep farmers out here as well, and you can't put your crop in. You can't do your spraying. You can't run your irrigators and all that sort of stuff. Like, things just stop without diesel. So the rationing of it's really, really tender hooks of how far we go to, store enough on farm for now. And people on farms have got big storages because they're big consumers of diesel. So
Sure.
I don't see too many of the Labor city fuel stations actually running dry or anything. It's being rationed out to us, the farmers that are the producers of the food and the fibre.
And this is what staggers me. You guys are major food producers for this nation, and to have a squeeze on you, and it's not just you, it's farmers right across our nation, I know, but it feels like this is just one more added bit of pressure that a government hell-bent on getting people off the land and into 15-minute cities is prepared to go to.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking if they want to try and get rid of all the farmers out in the world and that, and you only have to see what's happening in Ireland and what's happened in Europe previously and all that. So it's a really dangerous precedent if that's the way they're going about it. Like, the farmers should be at the top of the food chain. And we accept the vagaries of seasons and all that sort of stuff. Like, farming's not made for everyone, but everyone that does it is usually intergenerational, that actually loves doing it, and given any reasonable chance without too much green and red tape and all that sort of stuff, we can make a decent living. But with these current governments, the way they're going, it's becoming extremely hard to, and especially in Victoria. Victoria's a very difficult place to be here. I think it might have been 12 months ago. I heard someone said they've introduced 51 new taxes or something. I think that'd be there'd be another 20 or 30 on top of that. And one of the most famous ones is the emergency services levy with tax, which a simple farm like ours would go from a rates emergency service cost of about $18,000 up to about $48,000, and it's huge increases, and it's taxing the farmers out here and trying to take all the money away from the regions, and that's what they seem to be doing, is making it hard and hard, and we're just the ones out there that pay our taxes and try and prop up the cities.
Given that the climate criers are so desperate to get us into electric everythings, and recently the first electric semi-trailer made a run with toilet paper from Sydney to Canberra and took 4 days to recharge or whatever afterwards. I haven't heard John Deere producing any electric headers or seeders or sprayers or anything like that. I haven't heard of Massey Ferguson doing it either, for that matter, or anybody. Case, is there anything by way of electrical big farming machinery on our way to justify having these high tension power lines running all over your property, so one day you might have a plug big enough on your property to power them?
I don't think the power generated out here through the wind and solar and all that is actually going to be used by the people out here. That's the issue, is that it's all about sending it into the cities that actually need it where they are. So we could be quite self-sufficient here if we needed to be. So there's not that I know of. I think that's a long way away. But what I want to know is if we're going to electrify everything, where's all that electricity going to come from? It's certainly not going to come from wind and solar, because they're not even renewables. They're replaceables. They have to be replaced every 15 to 20, 25 years. And you know what batteries are like. Batteries need replacing once they drain down. Like this is crazy. If you think that for the next 200 years we're going to have to put up, say a wind factory lasts 20 years. We're going to have put up 10 of those. There's 2,200 square meters of concrete in each one of those. They can't use the same pads again. They don't use the same pads. They get fractured. They're not possible to use. So you're going to put 10 of these up in one area and call that great for the environment and great financially? Yeah. This is crazy when you can stabilize your electricity grid with nuclear and zero emissions and have it for hundreds and hundreds of years. Like, this is just so short term. But it's it's about the overseas multinationals. It's about the billionaires in Australia. It's about the institutionalized investors and the ex-politicians. And the crazy thing about this is none of it's illegal what they're doing. They've actually passed legislation so they can put the snouts in the trough.
And have done it so publicly.
Yep.
And are brazen about it. They just, it's just how it is.
Yeah,
bad luck.
Politicians' wage and see what their assets are nowadays, and they don't match up. So, and they do. They just change the laws. It's actually not corruption at all. It's just the way they go about their business and putting their snouts in the trough and getting them all to. I mean, we've got the classic down here, the machete bins that were placed in Melbourne and that sort of stuff for. What were they? $325,000 each. A farmer out here could make them for under $5,000. So who was getting that extra $320,000. Where was that going? Whose pocket was that lining? And we got the CFMEU that they're talking between $15 and $30 billion of Victorian taxpayers' money is being used up in big builds and that. So the corruption.
And then the Labor government votes against giving the ACCC or whatever investigative thing it is in Victoria the powers to actually look at what the government did or didn't do, as the case is.
Exactly.
That's,
don't rock the boat.
Do you think anybody who's thinking of standing maybe for One Nation, does this have to be a One Nation Victoria policy that we will go in, we will open up those books and we will make every person accountable for the theft of, like you say, between $15 and $30 billion, or the ineptitude of those who were meant to be managing it from the ministers down?
Oh, 100%. You'd love to see that. We could use it out here on our roads out here. The roads are deplorable here in Victoria, and never looked like getting any better either. So
the last time, you'll know this road. The last time I drove down in Victoria, I did the cut through from the Hume Highway over to Horsham, and I cut past Bendigo, and the Bendigo to St Arnaud piece of road buggered my headlights, blew the wiring out of my lights. So I went and got it fixed, and 3 weeks later, driving back, same bit of road, did exactly the same thing.
They put the speed limits down on a lot of these roads because they're unroadworthy. No one can drive at the speed limit because of the potholes in it. And one of the worst ones has been the Western Highway, the main Adelaide to Melbourne. Way. It's diabolical. But 15 to 30 billion, that'd build a lot of hospitals, that'd put a lot of nurses and school teachers out in the regions and doctors out in the regions and all that sort of stuff. So you'd love to see it all come back and go back into the state coffers and be used how it should be. And governments are there to govern for their people. They're not there to put their snouts in the trough and actually take all the money. Yeah,
but they're very good at doing it. Western Highway claimed the awning on the side of my bus. So I know the Western Highway well. One or a number of huge banged the awning loose. It got wind underneath the front of it, got torn to shreds, and some bloke on the CB tells me that I'm leaving confetti down the highway. It was a lovely reintroduction to Victoria. Ben, so next week you've got a couple of properties that are going to have people turning up wanting to go on and do these surveys. These are environmental surveys to see what damage they're going to do, not really care what damage they're going to do, but see what damage they're going to do on these people's properties. Now, some folks want help at the gate, some people don't. Are you looking for bodies to stand the fence next week?
I think we're always, accommodating to people. It looks as though we've had a few this week, and people have been organised and been able to push back quite easily. So it's being organised and making sure that the really strange thing about this is that they're trying to get compulsory access for an environmental study. But then Alistair Parker, the chief of VicGrid down here, says, well, if we don't get those environmental studies, we'll just go with ahead of it anyway. So it actually means nothing. They're trying to just flex a bit of muscle and trying to get on and show that, we'll get onto your place when it comes to compulsory acquiring your farm. So this is compulsory access for an environmental study. So I'm sure if we just opened the gates up and said, come on, that would be it for us. They'd certainly be able to do compulsory acquiring as well. So, but then at the same time, Alistair Parker's saying, well, we don't actually need these. We will go ahead with it. So why are they out there taunting and giving the farmers a hard time in a fuel and fertiliser crisis and our busiest time? Like seeding's just ramped up. Everyone's into it now. No one really wants to afford the time to be getting off the tractor and having to go and fight at these gateways, but we certainly will.
Well, we'll be there with you, mate. Tony will be helping us out next week. He'll hit the road. I think you met him last time at your property, so he'll be back on the road, and we'll endeavour to bring live coverage from the gate. I've been talking to Nick from Billboard Battalion, so hopefully we'll team up together. Obviously, Wade is still in hospital, and best wishes to Wade if you're watching, brother. Hope things are going well. I know they're going well, actually. A bit of an update on Wade is he's ploughing on with the physio and doing from all intents and purposes, a bloody great job of it. There is talk that he'll be heading home in maybe the not too distant future. You didn't hear that from me, though. So good luck. Good on you, mate. I hope things are going really well. But Nick, at the very least, will hopefully be there with Tony, and we'll do a dual broadcast if that's what we need to do, and make sure that as many people as possible are there, if not in person, then online, to support whatever happens on that day. And as it continues, I just find it disgusting that they would do this in the ANZAC week. They obviously have no idea, but
part of the dirty tricks, that's it. And we've lived to it, and there's more. There'll be more come out later on as well, but part of their dirty tricks is a full bag of tricks. But they know, they profile us all. They know who's the troublemakers and who's going to put up the most resistance and all that sort of stuff. So they bring out the dirty tricks, and there's a list that, you know, if you could think of a dirty trick, they've got it and they'll play it.
Ben, farmers have been catching sly foxes with dirty tricks for years. What happens if the farmers start employing dirty tricks?
Oh, I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. But as I said, when backed into a corner, we'll certainly make sure we're there and fighting for every bit of our intergenerational farms that certainly do belong to the people in the regions and all of Australia that we produce the food and fibre and the like for. So it's really scary stuff if they try and get away with this. Like I'd be really worried if I was a city person. They'll come at anyone. They won't stop at farmers. They'll just come for everything they want.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is really the test case, and they'll just plough on regardless. So it needs to be the biggest political issue in Victoria this year. And I hope that One Nation are all over it. I hope they're going to be behind you guys in supporting the end of this madness, this absolute idiocy. And with a bit of luck, that will lead to a long period of prosperity once a new government with a bit of community sense and common sense is elected. To help the Victorian people recover from the bullshit they've been subjected to from, the last decade or more. So
it's over 10 years. I think it's 12 or 15 years now of Labor governments who are oppressing the people here in Victoria.
And they just find new and interesting ways to do it every week, and couldn't care less. We'll look you blatantly in the face and say, yes, that's just how it is. It's all good. No worries. Nobody's complaining. We've got an advisor who's, 18 years old and done a week at university who told us it was going to be a great idea. So, but they've got 150,000 followers. So, they know what they're talking about.
That's it.
All right, mate. What can we do to help? I put up the
Farmers
GoFundMe site.
Yeah, so the Farmers Fightback, even if you Google Farmers Fightback, there's a page there that people can go onto and certainly sign up as a supporter as well as a volunteer, and just show the strength. Because as I said earlier, nothing frightens a politician more than numbers against them. So we'll certainly be getting as many people. Last time we had it in December when Tony was at the Gateway with us, we had nothing set up. So we basically launched the Farmers Fightback in early February this year, and to get the 26,000 has been fantastic. The media's and your platforms like this are coming at us, and we need to get the word out there. And it's about education. If you go on there, you'll actually learn of what we're on about and how we're standing up and making sure that we don't let these sort of projects go through at the expense of, the three pillars of any projects is socially, environmentally and financially, and they're buggerising all of those ones up. So, it's a really, really bad precedence. To be compliant, you don't want to be compliant. I think the test case was COVID, and to be compliant, and we just we can't be seen doing that this time. We need to actually stand up for our rights.
Mate, thank you very much for taking the time to come on tonight, and I appreciate it tremendously. If we can help in any way, please just pick up the phone and reach out. I know I'm sort of 1,500 kilometres away, but that's going to change in the not too distant future. But we've got Tony down there and many others who will come and help. Very happy to get behind the great people of Victoria and certainly the folks who are doing it tough in the Wimmera at the moment. So thanks for taking the time, especially at this time of night. From my memory, you blokes like to have your dinner at a certain time and be ready for the ABC News at 7 o'clock. Is that still how it works?
No, it certainly doesn't. Not the ABC anyway. So usually in bed early just to get up early. Enjoy getting up early. So every farmer's different. There are people out in the tractors right as we speak at the moment, planting the crop and pressing the button as go. So probably about this week it's go time for everyone. So
you need a tractor mechanic at the moment.
Yeah. But anyone watching this that knows me would understand. I'm no good with machinery. I'm a sheep person, Carl. I can't stand the machinery, so I might be a bit foolish in trying to do what I'm doing.
All right. Well, look, if anybody is around the Manu area watching the show and you know a bit about tractors, get in touch with me. I'll put you in touch with Ben. You might be able to help him out so he can get on his tractor and start seeding. Mate, thanks very much for joining us tonight. And please pass on my best to your group. And there might be a few names there that might remember me. So hello to them. And anything I can do to help, mate, just let us know.
I very much appreciate it. Thanks for that.
Have a good one. Enjoy.
You too.
That's Ben Duxsan from Farmers Fightback. And I urge you, go and have a look at the webpage. And if you don't think it really affects you because you live in Victoria, I can tell you this is going to happen everywhere as long as crazy bastards like Chris Bowen are still part of our society or part of our government. And that piece of filth is just a grinning lunatic anytime he's in front of a camera at the moment. But he is trying very hard to avoid being in front of a camera at any moment. He certainly doesn't want to answer any questions, like you'd expect. Now, I think I showed this, or maybe I didn't. Australia are about to pour an extra $2 billion into drones after they've seen the effectiveness of the drone campaign of Iran and the Ukrainian drone systems. Now, I haven't got it to show you, but Ukraine put out a video saying they conducted the first fully robotic assault on a Russian position, killing all the Russians with robots. Now, I have to say, while they sort of might be correct literally, it's not what you think. It looked like a bunch of emergency rubble crawlers, if you like, the kind of little robots that you would send into earthquake devastated areas that can get into small underground caverns, if you like, and then blowing up. That's essentially what this looked like. But it was a fully robotic attack. So I haven't played it to you because I think it's shit. But it is going to happen. You've seen some of the robots. One of them was walking down the aisle the other day with Melania. I've shown you what the Chinese are capable of doing. They put it on as a big dance, but every one of the dance moves was a fighting maneuver. And then we have seen the true Chinese fighting versions with machine guns and battery packs that'll keep them going for 4 days. In fact, some of those have been caught testing, if you like, in the mountainous regions that separate Tibet and China. And I think they've also been put to work in other regions around there where China might have some friendly governments, including Iran. So the robots are certainly on their way, but Australia does have a very good drone system. This is, I think, I think this is the one called the Wingman or the Ghost drone. It acts as a wingman for our F-35 fighter pilots, so they can control it. Maybe that's not it. There is a version they have created like that. It might even be carried by that and then launched. I can't remember. But it's a pretty cool bit of kit, and it has now changed the way that the Americans are looking at producing their 6th gen stuff, so that it can have a wingman drone component to it as well. I don't know that we'll see truckloads of DJI drones opening up and flying over air bases any time soon. I believe the programming for that has been changed rather significantly. And at any rate, DJI have programmed out at least in Australia, every airport, you won't be able to start your drone within about 3 kilometers of an airport. So you'd have to be home building something. And even now, I don't know that you'd be able to get the electronics from China to build something that didn't have a GPS locating thing that stopped it from starting like that. There has been some interesting finance news today, and I sort of roll my head. Some interesting crypto news. And I've tried to get a hold of Vince for it, but Vince has been unavailable for the day. But I will try and explain to you what it is that I have seen. Now, I saw this through Ainsley Bullion's Insights magazine or online. If you want to go and have a look at the full article, go to ainsleybullioncomu/insights, and you will find it there. The DCC is going multi-chain. You've probably never heard of the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, the DTCC, but it's one of the most important organizations in global finance. Every time a stock, a bond, or a derivative is traded in the US, the DTCC is the system that makes sure that trade actually settles and that the buyer gets the asset and that the seller gets paid. So, get the idea? This is the thing that makes sure that you get what you paid for, so to speak. Now, the DTCC is the organization that settles almost every stock and bond trade in the US, and it's been given the green light to start tokenizing securities on blockchain networks later this year. Now, they're not picking one blockchain. They're building across several of them, including Ethereum, Chainlink, and the Canton network, with others like XRP Ledger and Stellar, along with Hedera, I think is how you say that, in the mix. Now, if traditional finance starts running through these networks, the tokens that power them could become a lot more important. It's also important from my point of view that you understand that BlackRock and the SEC are both very publicly backing this next step into digital tokenology. What is the DTCC and why should you care? I think I've already said the main bit there, but it handles over $2.5 quadrillion worth of transactions every year. I did say it right, quadrillion. So when the DTCC starts using blockchain technology in the crypto world, it is going to be a huge mover, and it will become the backbone of the financial system. It'll make it a deliberate kind of shift. So how will this sort of work? Well, the 3-year pilot program that's going to kick off in the second half of this year will work with Ethereum as the most widely used public blockchain, the Canton network, a blockchain designed for institutional finance purposes, the Hyperledger BSU, which is a private permissioned network for regulated environments, and Chainlink, which is the infrastructure that connects different blockchains and feeds real-world data into them. Where does we fit in? Well, on top of all of it, the networks like XRP, Ledger, and Stellar and Hedera are positioned to become the potential channels for payments and liquidity. Now, why am I telling you all this? You might remember QSI. Stellar has been a central part of the QSI mantra right from the word go. Just bear that in mind before we finish up. The big players are backing this. So BlackRock, Larry Fink, has called this an early internet moment for finance, saying the industry needs to move rapidly towards tokenizing all assets. So if Larry Fink's all over it, well, it's got to be good, doesn't it? So what does tokenization mean? Well, it's the process of turning a real-world asset like a share of stock or a government bond into a digital token on a blockchain. Instead of the trade taking days to settle through a layer of intermediaries, it could settle in seconds directly between the parties involved. That means faster settlement, potentially instant. That's as opposed to 1 or 2 days. Lower costs because there's fewer middlemen clipping the ticket on the way past. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this is what they're saying is a good thing, Programmable assets, smart contracts could automate things like dividends, compliance checks, and all that sort of reporting. Yes, yes, yes. And of course, it could limit your ability to buy anything at anywhere if you are deemed to be a person who's not playing the game. All your assets are digitized. They'll be taken from you. Your house, which you tokenized, could potentially be taken from you. I'm still not completely sure we want to be going down a digital network, folks. It's a pretty wild thing to be able to digitize every single thing in your life and then have a bureaucrat who manipulates the blockchain in some way, shape, or form decide that, oh, no, you don't get that anymore. In fact, it won't be a bureaucrat. It'll be AI that manipulates it. It'll be AI that deems you are not a citizen worthy of the assets that you have, so we're taking them off you. We're going to redistribute them to those less wealthy. Oh, wait, that's the ALP. That's Albo Sleazy and his mob. Unfreaking believable. And it's just going to continue until we make a change. Will that be an electoral change? Well, One Nation made a huge electoral change in South Australia recently. And guess what was discovered recently? Like in the last day, like today. One of those seats, Narranungagangara, I can't say it. One of those seats was won by, I think it was 58 votes by the One Nation person sitting there. Outdid the Liberal by 58 votes. Lo and behold, today, 77 uncounted mail-in votes have been found. And the AEC in South Australia have decided a recount is in order. 77 uncounted votes found, just happened to be found in the electorate where the balance or the difference was 58 seats in the final count, the declared count. Now, Corey Bernardi's saying it for what it certainly looks like. It looks like the AEC have got some splaining to do again. Their ineptitude at losing these in the first place, their gall at thinking they can now add them into the vote after declaring it. But of course they can, because they're the AEC. They can do whatever they bloody like. And they continue to screw the people. I've got stories from people who have worked for the AEC over multiple elections who tell me some absolutely horrendous stories of what they have witnessed AEC staff doing. I personally have an AEC staff story. The fact that they closed their office, locked their office, and would not allow the delivery of a nomination to run in a federal election. They wouldn't accept it before the due time. They closed the office down so they wouldn't have to accept it. And that's just my story, but there are so many others. The corruption in this country, folks, is ongoing, incessant, and has to stop. The only way we're going to stop it is with you helping us do something about it. Are you prepared to do it? Well, we shall see. The time is coming. Be careful, folks. If you're heading out on the roads tomorrow, be safe. Don't do the things that dickheads do on the road, because it usually makes a hell of a mess and it creates a long wait for the rest of us who are trying to do the right things on the road. Be safe. See you tomorrow.
You let
Bye.
one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!